All right. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see all of you here with us tonight. My name is Val Miranda. I am the executive director of the Santa Cruz Art League, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this conversation tonight. We have been doing the statewide landscape exhibition for 90 years. This will be the 91st. And just check us out. We are going with 21st century technology. And this is the first time that we actually do a Zoom conversation to let people know about the show, hear a little bit about, from the jurors. So I think the amazing folks that you're gonna hear about that created this exhibition would be proud, because we continue the mission of this exhibition and taking advantage of the technology that is available to us. So it's my great pleasure to welcome you all as as people are coming in. Before I pass it on to my guests who will speak a little bit about themselves and about the show. I also want to let you know that I'll be posting some of the dates for the upcoming dates for submissions, etc., in the chat box. But I will also post a list a few times of the online juried shows page where you can learn more about the exhibition as well. This conversation tonight is live on Facebook, and so afterwards, please check us out. Check our website. Check our Facebook page where you can actually share the video. And our intention with this is so that this video will be on our social media feeds and our YouTube channel. And that gives people a chance, if they have questions, if they want to learn more, they will be able to see this video and share it with friends and colleagues that might be curious about the show. Another reason why we wanted to do this is because we know that we're almost with this crazy year behind us, and so we wanted to do something different, because we imagine that some folks might be thinking, oh, do I really want to submit? Am I ready for that yet? So we're hoping that having this participating in this conversation with us tonight will help you to decide to participate. So my guests today are Ed Penniman and Carolyn Lord, and I will let them introduce themselves. And the way that this is going to work, in case you have any questions, just hold your questions. We're going to have Ed is going to speak first, then Carolyn, and then we're going to save the about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes at the end of the conversation for your questions and observations and comments. And, if you have, I'll put some prompts in the chat, but if you have participated in the exhibition before, please drop something on the chat. If you remember the year and what the experience was like, that would be fun. And I'll be sharing those when I get a chance. I'll be sharing those with the group. So, all right. Without further ado, I would like to introduce this friend and colleague that I just adore his work. I adore his his commitment to the art and to the Santa Cruz Art League, and he's gonna share with you a little bit about the history of the exhibition, but also he has a personal connection with a deep, beautiful personal connection with the history of this exhibition that he's gonna share. So, Ed Penniman.
Hey, great intro, Val. As you were talking, I was just thinking of probably the first time I attended a statewide exhibition, I probably was in diapers. And next year I'll celebrate my 80th. But having it start so long before I was born it's an amazing legacy that the Art League has. But because I didn't want to miss anything with this presentation, I did a little bit of research and I actually have a script. And if you don't mind, I'm going to refer to the script so I don't miss anything. Hope that's okay. And then I think we're going to have a little Q&A afterwards too. So I'm totally open for anything you might want to ask me. So when the Art League was it was formed in 1919, as we all know. And then a few years later, it was 1928. The intention of this statewide landscape exhibition was to include all of the best artists in the state at that time. And I don't have the information on who may have joined at that time, but I'm sure a lot of the popular painters at that time joined in and showed their work at the exhibition. In those days, having one's landscape included in the Santa Cruz statewide exhibition was something to be really proud of. And it was also a significant item to be put on your artist resume. If you were placed as a winner, then that was even, let me just put that on mute for a second here. That's dumb, I'm sorry, I should have done that. Anyway, so getting your work into the Art League's show was really important and it was good for your resume. Probably increased some sales too for some of the artists. So for more than 3 decades, the exhibition was one of the biggest things in Santa Cruz, and it was fully supported by the community. There was a reverence for the exhibition. There was a tradition involved. One of the traditions I thought was kind of charming, I just happened to think of this, is that in the kitchen in the Art League today is a little sterling silver tea set that they used to bring out, and they would set up the tea set, and that would be kind of like part of the tradition of having this this statewide exhibition. So when I got involved in 1977, or I mean with the 77th annual, I had them pull out the tea set and polish it up and stick it out in a little area of the main gallery, and some of the founders' work was in a little grouping there, and it was really kind of neat, you know. So that was sort of charming. But about 10 or 15 years ago, Pauline McKim was the president, and she got together with Jeffrey Dunn, who's a local historian and a filmmaker, and they found a pile of old papers in one of the back areas along where the wash basin is, and that little alley behind the building between the property line. And they went through all of those papers and they were able to assemble quite a good history of the Art League from all the ratty papers. And that was wrapped up and put together, packaged, bound, and given to the Museum of Art and History, the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History. One of the names that Jeffrey Dunn, who is our local historian here, came across was my grandmother, Penniman. Her name was Leonora, and talked about her in this particular essay. But she was one of the founders of the exhibition, along with 2 of her painting partners, Cor de Gaver, who was an import from Holland via France, and Margaret Rogers, who was kind of a cowgirl from over by, what is it, Mission San Juan Bautista area, where she lived on a large ranch. And she was a very talented horseman as well as an artist. So essentially what really kicked this thing off was Cor de Gaver saying, you know, if we don't have a major exhibition at the Santa Cruz Art League, I'm not interested in staying in Santa Cruz. So, you know, I would probably move to San Francisco. So that was really kind of the nexus of the the impetus that really started the exhibition. So they put this thing together, and it's been happening ever since. And I just remember one of the things I remember most from my childhood about the statewide was the high level of excitement and anticipation it generated. Margaret Rogers, who for many years served as the Art League's president and then as president emeritus, oversaw the statewide. She would authoritatively move around the gallery, dictating tasks for members who were involved in the mutual quest for perfection. Great attention was not only paid to the art selection, but also to the presentation of the works that were chosen. The trio is keenly focused on having the yearly show present only the best California landscape painters every year. And so that's kind of the underpinnings of the thing. And just as a little addendum to that, I remember when I went to a statewide exhibition, I was shocked because my impression of the exhibit was always that it was a landscape show. And over the years, it changed from landscape show to kind of a potpourri of art and this, that, and the other things. And so I thought, well, it'd really be kind of a cool project to refocus this thing, get it back together. And so I contacted John Stern, he was the executive director of the Weissman. He still may be, I'm not sure, but he's associated with Pepperdine University. Or what, Carolyn, what was it? Was it
He's the Irvine Museum.
Irvine Museum.
Yeah, you worked with Michael Zakian later at the Weissman.
Michael Zakian. And so Michael Zakian was on our judges at one point, as was John Stern. So John Stern gave me kind of the outline of how he thought it would be successful and so on. And one of the things he said that I should do is to be brave and just call whoever I thought was really a worthy person to serve as a juror. And so with that, I contacted a lot of my favorite people whose work that I really admired. And one of them was David LaFell and let's see, Kevin McPherson, local person actually via New York City, Richard Mayhew, and
you had Scott Shields.
Scott Shields, curator of the Crocker Museum. Yeah, pipe in anytime, Carolyn, because okay. This is like we're doing this on the wing here. But and other really good painters, and of course Carolyn, who's got a super brain and a really good artist. You know? And so anyway, that was kind of the little addendum I wanted to say that got me involved. I really wanted to pull it back together and kind of right the ship in terms of this one exhibition. Hi, Ann Tierman. Okay, so, I guess one of the things Val asked me to say, well, how important is this exhibit? Well, I guess everything in life is relative, right? So to me, it's very important. And, it has always been important. And it's, for me, it's kind of like an annual meeting of the clan where the people who are like my colleagues in this quest for doing landscape painting all get together and we share the best work. Impressionism in California was sort of introduced. I think it was the Pan-Pacific exhibition was a big influence on California painters, and also around the beginning of or just after the turn of the century, we had the earthquake, and then a lot of people migrated from San Francisco to Southern California. The train system, I guess it was Southern Pacific, it was really big on moving people out to California. There was a big explosion of real estate development in Southern California. And along with that came artists from all over the United States who wanted to be in warmer weather. The railroad company had a magazine that they published that showed, beautiful landscapes and even landscape art. And that was a motivation to bring some of the best painters to California. And so in Northern California, particularly in the Carmel, Monterey Bay area, there was a artist community, and then also in Southern California, I guess John Muir, and who was the other artist with John Muir that started the California Art Club, Carolyn? Oh, Howard, not Howard Pyle, but
William Went was one of them.
Yeah.
And there was mind blank.
Yeah, we're blanking. But I'll get it when it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you get the sense that there is this burgeoning of the of art in California, and this has continued. The California Art Club is actually the oldest club in California, and the Santa Cruz Art League is the second oldest. They were established in 1909. We were established in 1919. They are having their 104th annual exhibition.
The California Art Club is having their 110th.
Is it 110th already?
Yeah.
Whoa! How time flies.
Exactly.
Man. Okay. So anyway, we're behind them in that. But anyway, so I don't know. I think that's about it for my time slot, really. I just maybe I want to say a little bit about plein air painting. To watch my colleague here, Carolyn, plein air paint is the most fun thing you'd ever imagine. She sits down with her stuff, and she's got her paper on her lap, and she has like the most portable thing I've ever seen in my life. She's all business when she gets out there, but anyway, the whole plein air thing has really kind of exploded in California, and it's moving its way eastward. But magazines like Plein Air Magazine and Connoisseur Magazine and the Plein Air Convention, where you have hundreds and hundreds of painters all with their easels out there and along the cliffs, and they're painting and they're competing for fame and fortune. And it's real exciting, and I guess it was, I think one of my favorite comments was from Eric Rhodes, who is the publisher of Plein Air Magazine and Connoisseur Magazine. He said, plein air painting has become the new golf.
but I will say that there are some painters who are absolutely mortified by that, and so, but you might say the direct observation community has grown so much that there's now like different factions, different groups, different, it's like, there's now a tonalist society that got started, of tonalist landscapes. And, so you have all these subgroups. And just the other day, I was reading an essay by Michael Pierce. He teaches down at University of California, California Lutheran University in Thousand Oaks. And he described the art community as like a bubble bath. Lots of bubbles, one grows really big, it pops, but then, or it grows and gets smaller, and there's all these different groups, and it's constantly changing and shifting.
Yeah.
There's no one that is like the bubble, because it's organic.
It's dynamic.
Yeah, it's dynamic. Yeah,
love it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I think that I wrote to him, and I told him that was a wonderful analogy, because I've been calling art ecumenical. It's like there's different ways to honor the the god and goddesses of aesthetics, and they're all valid. And we just each of us have a different way.
I think with that, I'll hand it back to our moderator here, Val, and she can hand it back to Carolyn, and then we'll save any questions toward the end. And looking forward to hearing what Carolyn has to say. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Ed. I just love that is going to be stuck in my head now, that plein air is the new golf.
Don't stick that in your head.
I think it's t-shirt material. It's t-shirt material.
No, it's not.
Just kidding. Well, I would be remiss if I didn't add a little commercial moment here, which is the Art League offers lots of classes. I want to let you know that we continue to offer classes on Zoom, and I'm gonna drop the links here. But if you're interested in joining in this new not new, but this reinvigorated plein air painting moment, I'll drop in the in the chat box some of the links to our classes, and we've just started to in May we started to offer classes on site again. We have a pastel class going, pastel series going on with Joan Hellenthal, and our beloved Linda Lord and her always sold out watercolor class is starting next week, sold out with a long waiting list. So slowly but surely, with all the cautions needed in regards to COVID, which is not quite on our rear view mirror just yet, but I think folks are eager and looking forward to the opportunity to be together again in a safe way to make art. And so yeah, please check us out. I'll put some links in the chat, but check out our website for just some of the art classes. And so without further ado, I want to pass it on to Carolyn Lord. So take it away, Carolyn.
Thank you. I'll say, if you want to drill down and get all the information on my website, I've got biographies and things like that. But I'm going to talk about my you might say connection to Santa Cruz. I did grow up in Southern California, and in 1979 I attended a art reception in Carmel for Millard Sheets paintings at the Fireside Gallery, and I met this guy there. And it turns out we had both taken workshops from Millard, and anyway, sparks flew, and we've been married for 40 years now, and I moved from Southern California to Northern California. And then my background, I went to Principia College. I was a studio arts major, and I was introduced to plein air watercolor painting, and so that's been the foundation of my career. And then when in the 70s, my aunt and uncle and cousin moved from Southern California to Aptos, and so I would visit. And so when I moved to Northern California, it was like, oh, I've got relatives. And my aunt and uncle, they're Leah and Ed Parks, and Ed worked at Disney, so he was just following behind Leah and Mary Blair. So there was this whole migration of retired Disney animators and whatnot. And so they, like I said, lived in Aptos, and my cousin had a delightful childhood, and they would go to the Del Mar Theater, and my cousin was really active in the Capitola Sandcastle building contest, so we'd come down and participate in that, or just watch and cheer from the sidelines. And then because my husband was also a avocational painter, he knew about the Santa Cruz Art League show, and he would enter it. And so I thought, oh, okay, I'll enter. So I started entering in the 1982, and sort of sputtered along off during the 80s, and then there was a break because there were things going on in my life and my career. And then, as Ed mentioned, the Santa Cruz Art League, their landscape show caught my attention when I saw that Jean Stern was going to be the judge, because I had joined the California Art Club in the mid 90s, and that just sort of introduced me to a whole different group of artists and artist opportunities. And I had interacted with Jean Stern, had visited the Irvine Museum, so I thought, hey, this is important. I want to be involved. And that's how I met Ed. And I was just so impressed with the different judges that he brought in. So as we mentioned before, there was Jean Stern, there was Richard Mayhew, Scott Shields, Nancy Boaz, Michael Zakian. It was just because by the time I got to that part of my career, it was like, oh, to get in a show, but to get into a show with a judge to see my work. And I also sort of that gap from the 1980s into the 2008, I came to realize, oh, wow, Santa Cruz Art League, they own their building. That's impressive. Or, wow, they use nails in the wall, none of this sort of hanging mechanisms, this temporary thing. So there was like a quality to the exhibition. Yes, it's a delightful post-war building, and with all that charm, but the installation, like Ed was talking about, it was something to look forward to, and the that the Art League took great care in how it was presented, and then also through Ed, and that great catalog. I found it in my files, that beautiful essay and catalog to get a historic sense, and that was part of the, oh, I want to be involved in this. And yeah, being a part of the California Art Club that was founded in 1909, the Santa Cruz Art League, you said it was 1919, and then I'm also a member of the National Watercolor Society, which was founded in 1920. So here's these three great California institutions. And so the Santa Cruz Art League represents the Northern California aspect of that. And then I have my Southern California part. And so, yeah, I've just been enthusiastic and whatnot. Okay. Yeah. That's a little bit about me. Anything else?
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about what some of the entrants might be looking forward to in terms of how they might prep their work, what you're looking for in the work of the entries? Do you have any preconceived ideas about, like an overall kind of a movement or something? Yeah, talk a little. I mean, you've probably given this some thought.
Yeah, actually, go to my website and you'll see newsletters. Click on that, and then you'll see read past issues. And about 5 years ago, I wrote an essay called "To Judge and Be Judged," and in fact, one of the paintings that was featured in that was in a Santa Cruz Art League show. And I talked about the challenges of entering art shows and what my batting average is, how many times I get rejected, versus accepted. And of course, I only boast about what I got in. And so people don't realize that, oh yeah, rejection happens all the time. It's just a fact of it. And then the other half of the essay was exactly about what I'm looking for. And and one of the concepts that I shared in the essay is realizing, oh, if I'm judging a show that's for a community art club where it's all about nurturing and supporting and we all live in the same town, I will make a decision to say, oh, I want to accept one piece of artwork by every entrant, because the goal of this particular art club is to be supportive and to build community. And I did that to one community art club, and they were just delighted, because the reception was well attended and everybody was happy. And I even attended the reception myself and said, oh, I love this and this is wonderful. But I also know, and this is where the Santa Cruz Art League landscape show, this is a regional show. This is a resume builder. And so I'm going to look at it from a much more, it's like, oh, what's the composition? Do I feel the intent? How's the handling of the material? Something that I'm very, let me say, I have a strong bias towards good graphic design, but I'm also the sense of light, the quality of light. So I'm looking for, how's the drawing? How's the composition? How's the value control? It doesn't always need to be strong and bold. Like, for example, more recently, I've was in a totalist show, and that just sort of opened up a whole part of my being and understanding of myself. But it also means, oh, I can enjoy other artists' work. There may not be any value contrast, or the colors may be very subdued, but I can still find joy in that. And so I try to be, take each painting individually and say, oh, what's the content of this? Because I know every artist is different, and they're either expressing something about themselves, who they are, their personal preferences as far as color and design and whatnot, or they may be expressing something unique about the particular scene that they want to share. And I'm also very open and receptive to unique and unusual takes on the landscape, because it's not always just beautiful scenes. Yes, as Ed mentioned, California Impressionism, the beautiful ocean and forests and fields and hills and things like that. But this is also a current contemporary show, and so I'm very open to seeing, well, what are people's take on this. And I will tell you a little story on myself. The California Art Club had a membership show at the museum at St. Mary's College, and the theme was water. And so I was going, water, okay, yeah, I got something that I did down at Point Lobos. And then, because I could submit several paintings. And then I thought, whoa, we're in the middle of a drought. I'm going to put in my painting of a water tank on a construction site, because that's what water is in California. We don't have a lot of it. We have to contain it. We have to hold it. We have to hide it. It was just a little 8x10 field study. I put it in the show. It was the only painting like that, and yet it got a lot of attention, and it sold, which is nice. But that, and talking with the California Art Club, I forget, the office or something like that, and they're always like, yeah, Carolyn, we always know you come up with something, just a slightly different take on the landscape, and so that's why I hope when artists are considering us, it's like, show me your vision of your California, and it doesn't have to be, like I said, picturesque and poetic. Or you can show me the beauty that exists even in an urban infrastructure, or things that are going on in California, because I know, because we have had fire and drought, and we're it's not just climate change and climate chaos, it's now being referred to as climate crime, knowing how long the petroleum industry has been doing their stuff. These are all things that are current and contemporary, and yet can be expressed in paintings of our landscape. And I know Santa Cruz is on the coast, so but yeah, show me what's in the Central Valley, down in Southern California, as well as in Northern California. I truly hope that the Art League does get entries throughout the whole state, so it can really be a statewide exhibition.
Well,
So
we'll keep hammering, Carolyn.
yeah, I know it's hard, because a lot of times people like to enter shows where they've actually physically been, and this is something that I'll do, is I'll enter shows if I may not know the venue, but I admire the judge. Like, that's one of the reasons I just love the last 10 or 12 years of the Santa Cruz Art League shows. So they may not know the venue, but they know the judge. Or if it shows up on another artist I admire's resume, it's like, oh, this person has been in it. Oh, must be, and it's an artist you admire, kind of thing, and that might encourage people to participate. And then just getting the news out there. I did notice we have till September 15th.
It's actually September 13th.
Oh, 13th. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotta make sure. So we have like 6 weeks, and then the show opens up in November. So let's hope everybody does their pandemic protocols, and we'll, at least there may not be of course, you'll make the determination whether there'll be an open reception, or people can just come sort of in a staged, a pace thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you just said the key words there. It's like, we will be deciding what that looks like. It's interesting, because as of now, like, for example, next Friday we're gonna have our first Friday, since we reopened, and 2 weeks ago we were like, oh, this is going to be a small reception, and now we know that it's going to be a small reception with masks, because we just we just heard that this week that the state is not mandating, but strongly encouraging the use of masks when indoors. So we adapt, and we do what we can. So, but I wanted to just say that the article to judge and be judged. I just dropped a link in the chat box. So if you wanna
Thank you.
if you wanna click on that and check it out, and also a link to Carolyn's website. So to see that, I appreciate the idea that you. I haven't read the article, but I appreciate the idea that you wrote, because just talking briefly from my perspective as a staff in the organization, it's always fascinating every year to talk to folks that are planning to submit, or they have submitted, where they say, what's the criteria? Am I going to be able to, be accepted in the show? You know what I mean? There's this tension. And so I really appreciate, the way that you spoke about it, Carolyn, because I always try to, remind folks that what we as an organization rely on is the artist's expertise. We know that their experience and expertise will make them, a thoughtful, good juror. It's not as much about, it's a combination of this person has this experience, they have this body of work, and we always have to remember that things are subjective, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And what I found in preparing for this presentation, I had shared earlier, I went through my files. I started entering the Santa Cruz Art League shows in, like I said, in 1982, and I was showing watercolors, usually half sheets, 15 by 22 watercolors. And then I noticed, then there were some 22 by 30 watercolors, so some big pieces, but they were florals, landscapes, architecture piece, and then yeah, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. An architecture piece, and then there was one year, it's like, I'm going to enter with an 8 by 10 inch oil, and so all these years I've been getting like, I got best of show sometime in the 80s, or third place, or, just recognition. About half the time I was accepted into the show. And then this little 8 by 10 architecture piece in oil, which is a media that I've been sort of slowly backing into the last 10 years. And David Gallup, who was the judge that year, and he gave me third place. It's like, well, this is kind of neat. So size, yes, you can handle enormous paintings, and you have the gallery to display very large pieces, but also by my getting accepted and having that work acknowledged is like, scale's not everything. And then there was another year I entered the in fact, it's on the Santa Cruz Art League website, the Dusk painting. That's another 8 by 10. And then the last year, the 2020 show, in fact, there's a great photograph of Ed and I sitting on the bench at the reception that was like 3 days before the state shut down. So it's almost like that was my last pre-pandemic memory, was attending the reception of the Santa Cruz Art League. So it's kind of neat to be like on the other side of this as well. And then
and then we went out for our annual lunch that we do afterwards.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll come down and just sort of talk about stuff. And I know when I was getting to know Ed, the Santa Cruz Art League was also transit, and it was part of what was going on throughout all of the art community, when having jury chose to go from slide entry to digital.
Mm-hmm.
And then also there were online services to hire out. And I remember there was a couple of little hiccups because the art league was, it was community based, and you had a lot of volunteers dealing with all the little slides and the little accept reject slips. And there was another artist, Robin Purcell. She used to live up in the Bay Area. She now lives in Southern California. But when she was living in the Bay Area, and our kids were about the same age, so we were like, oh my gosh, okay, we're both going to enter, and one of us will drive down to deliver the paintings, and the other one will pick up at the end of the show, because we can't afford to, ship the paintings, and especially full sheet watercolors. Well, there was one year where I went to her house, gave her my painting, and she drove down, and she showed up, and the lovely volunteers said, "Well, where's Carolyn's other paintings?" I had two or three paintings accepted that year. So she comes back, and fortunately, you had like a 3-day drop off over Memorial Day weekend, which is like, what were you guys thinking? Yeah. But fortunately, Robin had gone down like on the first drop off day. She came back and told me the news, and then I drove down and brought the other paintings. And so there was that like, oh, come on, we need to join the 21st century. And it was awkward, but I was thrilled to see that you're using, online juried services. And, so not only are you pushing the show on your website, but it goes out to all the people that receive the online juried services newsletter, shows to enter, deadlines coming up. And so hopefully that is broadcasting, to a wider field, throughout, because as you know, there are tons of landscape painters in California. So my hope is that my being a judge will pique their interests, or through the California Art Club, because I've been involved in that for a long time. And then I will say the California Art Club sort of percolates through the Santa Cruz Art League, because both Ed and I are members, and Jean Stern was a board member, or is a board member. Michael Zakian is a board member. Warren Chang and David Gallup are artist members of the art club. So you might say the mission kind of overlaps, because the art club is to celebrate the wonders of California in all of its forms. So so hopefully, because
if I can just interject at this moment
Yeah.
too, that they have a lovely color catalog that comes out every quarter. That's their newsletter, and it features some historical aspects of the California art scene, and then also features work of some individuals that are contemporaries, then also features someone who has recently passed as kind of a memoriam. But it's written by Elaine Adams, who's an excellent writer and is kind of a historian. Anyway, it's driven by a good couple, a really nice couple of people. But if you don't know about the California Art Club, it certainly doesn't take anything away from the Santa Cruz Art League. It's, we're all in this together. We're all paddling in the same direction.
We're in the bubble bath together.
Well, thank you.
Sorry, got to go now.
No. I just wanted to, thanks, Carolyn. I super appreciate your perspective. And I want to make sure we are at 6:45. So I want to make sure that we save some time for
questions.
For questions. And so if anyone has a question, you can either unmute yourself and ask the question, or you can, if you're not feeling up for speaking, you can just put the question in the chat box, and I will read it I'll pass it on to the group.
Well, I will share this. Like I said, going through all my records, I still remembered it, and I found the paper evidence. And there's something about when you're filling out the forms to be accurate. So this was in the 1980s, and so all the forms were handwritten. And so, fill out the title, the price, the size, the media, all that sort of stuff that shows up. It's whether it's a paper entry form or, online. And I had written $75 for the price of my painting that would sell at the gallery for $750. And it wasn't until I came to the reception and I saw the label, and it was like, but it says the prospectus, when you sign that line, you are saying that information is correct. So as you fill out the form, double check it. Make sure that you're accurate, because as I've explained to other artists, a prospectus, we understand that that's all the list of things that you're going to have to do, and the expectations and the calendar, but it's also a contract that binds you, and you agree to everything on that page. And when I saw that, I thought, "Oop." I mean, fortunately it didn't sell. I mean, if somebody was really smart, because I was showing at a gallery in Carmel, so it's like, oh, if somebody knew that they could just drive on the other side of the go, oh. But anyway, and then yeah. Oh, and then another interesting thing, at the last reception that I went to, in March of 2020, I thought it was very, very interesting, that Warren Chang was speaking about the paintings, and he made a comment. He said that he accepted 2 of my paintings. They're both oil 16 by 20 coastal scenes. But he says it wasn't until he actually saw the painting did he see and not comprehend what was going on. So, digital's great, the screen is great, but it's not until he actually saw it. And then, because that was a painting that got 3rd place, but he also made a comment that he liked the framing. And it was like, oh, well, thank you. And I did notice in one of the older show listings that there was an award from Lens Art Supply for best framing presentation. And I thought, well, that was interesting. That was, I don't know if it was an annual thing or it was just a one-time thing. So anyway,
Well,
talk about.
Carolyn,
Yeah.
we have a question.
Yes.
Let's see. Karuna is asked whether did you buy your painting?
Oh, say that again.
Did you?
Hey, that's good. That's smart.
Good one.
All right, thank you. All right.
I have a question.
Yes, Pat.
We heard from Carolyn about her judging process. Ed, would you describe what you look for when you're judging?
Well, I think, yeah, thank you. Thanks, Kat. Of course, I don't judge the show, but when I do, I mean, I did, I guess last year, maybe the year before, but I guess what I want is the first thing is visceral impact more than anything else. Like, that's what I want, a positive visceral impact, not like, oh my God, that's obscene color, but it has to do with more of the emotive quality. Do I feel uplifted by it? And then, of course, then I look to see how many rules have been broken to get to that impression that I got. And and with any judging competition, what happens is, you become familiar with the work, and then the more familiar with the work you become, you start narrowing it down. And it's like a pyramid. As you narrow it down, it gets harder and harder and harder until you have 7 or 8 paintings that are really all really, really good. And then it just becomes totally subjective. And so you just say, well, I'm just going to go with that one, and so again, it's so subjective, it really is. I have a question, if I could ask it. I mean, we're all, thank you, Val. Okay, so we're all entering our work into exhibitions and so on. I don't know how many exhibitions to enter a year. Someone told me to enter so many exhibitions that you can't keep track of them, that you don't even, so that if you're not accepted, you don't even remember, and it doesn't hurt. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But like earlier, we were talking about this article that this essay that Carolyn wrote, and to be judged and judge and be judged. Like, what is a reasonable expectation of rejection at any level, whether it's our art or in our life or anything, because it's all about us on this path,
Yeah.
you know.
I will say, a couple weeks ago, I listened to a Savvy Painter podcast interview of Felicia Forte,
Mhm.
and she is moving back from Detroit to the Bay Area, and she talked about entering shows, and she
Mm.
was very calculating because she goes, sort of instead of broadcasting everywhere, she
Mhm.
wanted to just sort of make sure that her results were good. And then just like I shared, I sort of have a calculus: who's going to see the work, where's it going to be shown, who might my peers be. And then as I mentioned earlier, Robin Purcell and I would show together. Well, my son went to private middle school and all this sort of stuff, and it was sort of like, if we have to ship it too far, I'm not entering. And thankfully the internet allows, every artist to be able to put your work out there even if you don't get into shows. And then I focused on California. Like, my business card says Carolyn Lord, California artist, because it's like, where do you stop? There's just so many. So I've been focusing mostly on the West Coast, although I realized just yesterday I entered the Philadelphia Watercolor Society show,
Mhm.
because it's like, yeah, that's right, I should pay attention. It's like 160 years old, and let's start there. And I've been making my annual donation to the American Watercolor Society for about 10 years, and I'm just about to throw that off. And then I was talking with, I met him through the art club, landscape painter who lives in the Santa Clara area. And several years ago, he picked up this idea that, oh, if you've entered a show and you get in it year after year, and awards year after year, then it's almost like, get a bigger fish pond, you know, because you're sort of tamping down the competition. And I took that to heart because for years I used to enter the Livermore Art Association. I live in Livermore, and I thought, hey, it's my local thing, and there's no galleries and stuff like that. So I thought, hey, once a year I can sort of show what I'm working on. And sometimes I do watercolor or oil or figure, just sort of shake things up. But then I realized, well, what's the career benefit to me to enter that show every year, and every year get a merit award, and every year, da, 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 da.
Mhm.
So in heeding this fellow artist's advice, I decided not to. And so sure enough, the next year comes along, and I read in the local paper who got the top watercolor award. And I realized, oh, this is a painter who's been in town longer than I had, does beautiful work. Once I removed myself, it allowed her to receive recognition and do recognition for her work. And her career goals are completely different from mine. So by my
Mhm.
stepping aside, it allowed her to flourish within her community art group.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, that said, it's like, oh, the landscape show, you're dealing with statewide. It's competitive, and I love how you have different judges. Oh, the other thing I wanted to bring up, which also sort of fits within my decision of what shows to enter, is the fact that there's one person making the decisions. And because when you have multiple judges, you sort of cancel each other out. Whereas I would rather be completely responsible, and it's more of a weight of, I'm designing the show, and I'm sort of saying, this is what I feel is important. Or as Ed said, what paintings give me like a response, what do I respond to? um, and I'm designing it, and I'm going to pull it together, and there's going to be things that I feel strongly about, and there's other things that I'm just going to go, no, I just personally, it's a personal decision. And so just like I create my own paintings, I am creating a show from materials that are brought to me, that the artists bring to me. And so
Carolyn, what painters do you, Carolyn, what painters um, are you particularly fond of in terms of the California? Just give me like two or three top of the heap painters, not contemporaries, but historical.
oh gosh,
Edgar Payne was the name we were looking for before
yeah.
with the California Art Club. But yeah,
Mm,
I mean,
mm.
who are some of the?
That's tough, because there's, I just like, oh yeah, Edgar Payne and William Went, those are really great. But then it's like, I love what Eric Merrill is doing. His
Mhm.
work just is fabulous. And then, oh gosh, you caught me off guard. Oh, I saw Warren Chang's show that's at the Triton Museum right now. And years ago,
And
I
then-
had taken a heads and hands class and was introduced to the Zorn's palette. So it was so enjoyable to go and see his work and see how
I was
he
thinking
handles
more of
the
like
paint.
historical paintings that you feel that
Oh.
might have influenced your success as a
Oh.
painter.
Oh, the Pozzoni guy.
Yeah, Guitardo Piazzoni.
Yeah, really,
Yeah.
really nice.
That was
Yeah.
interesting. That was that kind of like the Monterey area. You had Matthews and his wife were kind of tonalist, but yet very modern, you know.
McComas. It's like everyone, I forget, you know, it's like, oh yeah, these really amazing things. And then oh, I'm like running through the Crocker Art Museum trying to remember what else there is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I guess we're almost out of time, aren't we?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Are there any other questions I can help you with? So yeah, I jump all over. I don't have any favorite. It's sort of like who I'm inspired by, and
Thanks.
you know, like
Well, thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Ed. I wanted to ask everyone a big favor, which is
Sure.
please help us spread the word about this exhibition. I'm gonna be super honest that this is we don't know what's gonna happen because we don't know how people are feeling comfortable in terms of submitting artworks, and this is our first juried show. As we I get this inclination to say post-pandemic, but that's not okay to use yet. And so as we transition, away from the pandemic, this is our first juried show, so we could really use your help with spreading the word about the show. Even if you're not, even if you're not planning to submit, please, share it on social media, share it with your friends. That would be incredibly, helpful,
what I will say is it was interesting. I entered the Triton salon, and it was like, oh, there was a little hiccup because of the pandemic, but they went ahead and had the show this year, and the entries were still like 1,000, 1,100 entries, just like it had been pre-pandemic.
Yeah,
so I think those who are already within your community, and email is great. It doesn't take a stamp, so you can keep everybody on your distribution list. And like I said, the online jury shows.
That and a big honking first prize cash award, that always helps to bring people in.
Yes, and I will say that when I got Best of Show from Kevin McPherson, and it was, I think it was like I got the whole purse. That was it.
Yeah.
And it was only $1,000 on one hand, only $1,000. But that was like 2009. Oh my gosh, it was huge. And then I juried a show for Hayward's their art commission, and they decided to have their top award be $1,500. And I just praised them up and down. I said, a big purse, the chance of making it significant. And I just loved it because the artist that I met at the reception, he said this is his first and last rent for his studio. It was going to make. We
did have $5,000 one time as the top prize. That was historically, we did do that. And might have been a little extravagant for our budget at the time, but we did it. Look, folks, I've got to go because I've got a tight schedule today, but it's been nice talking to you all.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Again, this video will be on our Facebook page, so please share widely, share freely.
I will share it.
Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Oh, what a